There was a time in my life when folks around town knew me as Joseph, the guy with the big smile and even bigger heart. You needed rent, I'd help. Groceries, I'd show up at your door. Baby formula. Just say the word, I had a reputation for being kind, generous, always lending a hand, donating to families, helping churches, giving at fundraisers. People called me the cheerful giver, and they meant it. Kids would wave when I drove by, mothers whispered blessings behind my back. Old folks called me a man sent from heaven. It felt good. It felt righteous. But none of them knew. None of them saw what happened when that smile faded behind closed doors, because behind that cheerful image, I was something else entirely. I lived a double life, and my other face was pure darkness. See, I had multiple phones. One for work, one for friends, but the others, those were for them girls I found online, girls I lured. I had a system, polished, practiced, perfected over time. I'd slide into their DMs with compliments and jokes, promise them affection, wealth, even a future. I'd listen to their stories, pretend to care, and when they trusted me, I'd invite them over. The drinks I served were always sweet, always cold, always laced. They never woke up the same, because they didn't wake up at all. I'd gotten deep into a sick, profitable world, black market organ trade. I knew the contacts, I knew the buyers. And I knew how to pick the perfect victims, vulnerable. Girls, lonely girls, desperate ones who craved love, attention, stability, things I could fake easily. I didn't care about their dreams, their families, their lives. They were money to me. They were product. Everything was smooth for a while. I'd perfected the process. A girl would show up, smiling, maybe nervous. I'd charm her again, ease her nerves, serve her a drink. Minutes later, her body would go limp. And I'd drag her to the boys' quarters behind the main house. That's where the real horror happened. That place wasn't just a room, it was a cold, blood-stained chamber of secrets. Chains bolted to the wall, a table that had seen too much, buckets, drainage. I had turned that back building into something unspeakable, something only monsters could operate. I never kept them alive longer than I had to until Lucy. She changed everything. I met Lucy online. Just like the rest. But from the start, something was different. She didn't fall for the usual lines, didn't swoon over my compliments, didn't melt when I talked money or status. Instead, she pushed back. Asked tough questions, dodged my advances, refused to give out her location. She was a student of mass communication, intelligent, composed, and sharp. You could tell she came from a strong home, raised on faith, grounded in self-worth. She wasn't hungry for handouts or romance, and that drove me crazy, because I needed her. Not just for a deal, though, yes. There was a client waiting, a wealthy buyer from out of the country. He wanted a specific type, young, educated, pure. Lucy fit the profile too perfectly. When she wouldn't come, the deal fell through, and that wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a massive loss. Tens of thousands gone, months of planning. Wasted. I remember that night clearly, pacing in the dark, my mind spinning with rage. No girl has ever turned me down before. I growled at the shadows. Who does she think she is? Lucy, you've made a mistake, and you're going to pay. That night, as the rain battered my windows and thunder rolled like judgment, I sat in my office staring at my wall of phones. Each one loaded with contacts, girls I'd sweet-talked, manipulated, destroyed. But none of them lingered in my mind the way Lucy did. Her refusal lit a fire in me. I needed control. I needed to feel like the one pulling the strings again. So I made a decision. If I couldn't have Lucy right away, I'd stockpile replacements, more girls, more bodies, more product for the trade. I wouldn't wait for deals to fall through. I'd be prepared at all times, ready to supply whenever. Wherever, that was the birth of the inventory. I started luring more women, vulnerable ones, often fresh from small towns. I'd tell them they'd find jobs in the city. I'd promise modeling gigs, business opportunities, marriage. Whatever it took. And once they arrived, well, they never left. The boys' quarters turned into a prison. By the time I was done, I had over 30 girls locked in there. Some were barely out of high school, others already mothers. But they all shared the same fate, caged, gagged, bruised, and broken. I installed soundproofing to hide the screams. I built extra locks and motion detectors, even dug a tunnel behind the structure, just in case I ever needed to dispose of evidence in a hurry. It was a full-blown operation. And still, I wore my mask in public. Out in the community, I remained Joseph, the cheerful giver, the guy who handed out rice and wrappers to widows, who helped young boys pay their school fees, who fixed broken pipes and donated at church. Nobody ever suspected a thing. That's how I met her, the pregnant woman. She had been abandoned by her husband. Alone, penniless, desperate to feed herself and her unborn child. She heard I helped women in need and showed up at my gate one humid afternoon, holding her swollen belly and hope in her eyes. She was exactly the kind of person I could use. "I'll help you," I said gently, "but you'll have to come with me into the city. I know someone who can offer you work and shelter." She hesitated, but what choice did she have? She nodded slowly and stepped into the car. She even smiled, grateful, trusting. That long ride into the city was quiet. Her eyes wandered out the window while I plotted silently beside her. She had no idea that she was driving toward her death when we got to my compound. I didn't even wait. I led her through the house, past the hallway, and straight to the back door. She blinked. "I thought you said someone was going to help me." I smiled. "Yeah, they're right in there." Then I shoved her through the metal door. She screamed. The kind of scream that echoes in your bones, but it was too late. The other girls jumped, startled, but said nothing. Their faces were pale with fear and hopelessness. The pregnant woman kicked and shouted, begging, demanding answers. I locked the door behind me. That night, her cries didn't stop. She wailed for hours, for food, for help, for mercy. She cursed me, begged God to intervene, pleaded with the unborn child in her womb to stay strong. It got under my skin. I couldn't sleep. By morning, I'd had enough. I walked into the quarters, cold and focused. She saw me and stood up, trembling but defiant, her eyes bloodshot and wide, locked onto mine. "You're evil," she hissed. "You won't die well. Every soul you've destroyed will call your name in hell." I didn't flinch. "I've heard worse," I muttered. She stepped forward, even with her belly pushing out front. "Mark my words, Joseph, you will be exposed. You will beg for death, and you will die like a dog." I didn't care. I pulled out my tools, and then I ended her. The other girls, they witnessed everything. Some turned away, others cried in silence, a few stared in pure, paralyzing terror. They now understood this wasn't a threat, this was a system, a machine, a one-way road to a grave. I butchered her body quickly, mechanically, breaking it down into labeled coolers. My clients didn't care about names or stories, they just wanted kidneys, hearts, and livers. I cleaned the floor, burned the rags, took a shower, and by evening I was back in town handing out yams and smiles again. But inside, Lucy still haunted me. She had refused me, cost me a deal, challenged my control. She needed to be punished, and this time I'd play the long game. I became obsessed with Lucy all over again, not in a romantic way. No, this wasn't love, this was war. She had humiliated me by rejecting my charm, my money, my gifts. She had made me feel small. And in my world, that was unforgivable. So I switched gears. I started messaging her again, this time with patience, with strategy. I told her I respected her values, told her I wanted to understand her better, said I admired her strength. I even sent her Bible verses, claimed I was a changed man. At first, she ignored me, then. Slowly, she began to respond. The conversation started light, safe topics, school, hobbies, family. I made sure not to rush. I played it cool, I played it long. Days turned to weeks, weeks into months, and eventually I slipped in a request. Let's meet, I wrote. No pressure, just face to face, a coffee, maybe, or lunch. You deserve that respect. She hesitated, but I could tell the idea intrigued her. When she finally said yes, I felt the rush. I'd waited so long for this moment. I dressed carefully that day, nice shoes, fresh cologne. A clean shirt. I looked like the dream I pretended to be. We agreed to meet at her university, in public. But when I arrived, I tried to pivot. Let's go somewhere quieter. I said, I know a good hotel with a nice rooftop. Her tone turned sharp. No. We said public, Joseph. That annoyed me, but I masked it with a smile. Of course, I said, I just thought you might prefer some privacy. She sent me the address of a small restaurant nearby. When I walked in and saw her, my breath caught. She was stunning, more radiant than I remembered from her photos. Her eyes, her posture. Even the way she held her phone, she was confident. Too confident, she hadn't come alone. 2 of her friends were seated with her, watching me like hawks. Smart girl. I took my seat, flashed my best smile, and began the small talk. Asked how school was going, what she planned to do after graduation, how her family was. I laughed when appropriate, nodded, listened. The whole time, my mind was spinning. I imagined her in my quarters, gagged, begging, bleeding. When we finished eating, I pulled out a wad of cash and offered it to her friend, a gesture of goodwill. She took it eagerly. Then I turned to Lucy. This is for you, I said. She shook her head. No thanks. Her friend nudged her. Girl, what's wrong with you? Take it. I said no. Lucy replied firmly. That pissed me off. But again, I smiled through it. I walked them to their car. Waved goodbye. Watched Lucy drive off. My fists clenched at my sides. She was toying with me, making me jump through hoops. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I started working through her friends, sending them money, favor after favor. Slowly building trust, planting seeds. And eventually, they started to advocate for me. They whispered to her, he's a good guy, he really likes you. Just give him a chance. And Lucy, she finally cracked. She agreed to date me. Asterisk, when Lucy said she was ready to visit me, I nearly dropped my phone. It had taken months of acting, pretending, and playing the long game, but finally the fish had bitten the hook. She asked me to send my address. I chuckled. No need, I texted. You'd never find it. I'll come pick you up myself, she agreed. But Lucy, she wasn't stupid. Before she packed her bag, she told her roommates everything, where she was going, my number, even shared a pin of the meeting spot. She gave instructions like someone going into enemy territory. Smart, but not smart enough. Or so I thought. When she arrived at the bus park in the city, she called me. I'm here, she said. I was halfway to her already, but before I got there, life happened. She got a phone call. Her younger sister had been in an accident, nothing fatal, but serious enough to send Lucy's heart into a spiral. Without hesitation, she changed direction and rushed home. She didn't even think of me. Later, when I saw her missed calls and finally picked up, she explained it all. I forced a soft tone. I understand. I said, family comes first. I just wanted to see you. But inside, I was burning. Days passed. She went silent, focused on her sister. I kept reaching out, gently, patiently. And eventually, she texted me again. Weekend, she wrote. I'll come over this weekend. Promise. That was it. I cleared my schedule. I Cancelled all pending orders, postponed deliveries, told my suppliers to wait. That entire weekend I reserved for Lucy, but she surprised me again. She didn't give me a heads up. No, I'm coming text. Just one random afternoon, while I was buried in logistics, I got a call. I'm at the park, she said. I froze. That day, I had 3 orders to process, 3 clients waiting for parts. The boys' quarters were already dripping in horror. I wasn't ready, but I couldn't say no. Not after everything. So I told her I was on my way. I cleaned myself up, left everything behind, and rushed out to pick her up. When I saw her standing there, innocent, smiling, trusting, it was almost surreal. She got into my car, thanking me for coming. I smiled back, kept my cool, drove her home. When we got there, I gave her a tour, offered her food, water, a place to sit. I wasn't expecting you today, I said smoothly. I have some business I can't push, but you're safe here. Make yourself at home. I'll be back in the morning. She nodded. Take your time. She said, I'm fine. As I left, my mind was buzzing. I didn't even lock the boys' quarters that day. Figured I'd be back before she had the chance to snoop. My mistake. Lucy didn't just sit around waiting. She explored. And that was the beginning of my end. Asterisk. At first, Lucy made herself comfortable, or at least pretended to. She ate some of the food I left behind, looked around the living room, peeked into the kitchen. Everything seemed fine on the surface. To fine, maybe, but then she heard something. A sound, faint. Desperate, like muffled crying. She paused. Was it her imagination? She stood still, heart racing, and listened harder. Then she heard it again, louder this time, a cry. A scream choked by something. Cloth, or maybe fear itself. It came from behind the house. Lucy slipped on her sandals and quietly stepped out into the back. The compound was quiet, still. The air heavy. She followed the sound to a small structure near the rear fence, the so-called boys' quarters. The door was shut, but not locked. A padlock hung loose. She crept closer, pressing her ear to the wood. The sobs were clearer now, dozens of them, moaning, whimpering, prayers in whispers. She backed away, chilled to the bone. But curiosity, or something deeper, pulled her forward. Lucy grabbed a metal rod lying nearby and slowly pried the door open. The smell hit her first, rotting flesh. Dried blood, human waste. Her stomach turned. Inside, it was chaos frozen in time. Women, dozens, some lying limp, others chained. Many were barely alive, thin as shadows, their faces hollow. Skin bruised and scarred. A few looked at her with wide, terrified eyes, unsure if she was savior or captor. Help us, one of them whispered. Lucy's heart was pounding. Another girl, no older than 19, sat in the corner. Her eyes sunken, her voice cracked. We drank the juice. We thought he was nice. He said we'd live better. But he lied. He cuts us up, one by one. Lucy felt the world spin. She looked down and saw it, a fresh body, mutilated, half, covered with a dirty sheet. The woman was pregnant. Tears welled in Lucy's eyes, but she didn't freeze. She moved. She yanked off the ropes from the closest girl, then another, then another. Her hands trembled, but her mind was clear. We're getting out, she whispered. All of us. A few of the stronger girls helped her, freeing the rest. Some collapsed. Others sobbed with relief. Lucy rushed back inside the main house, grabbed her phone, and made the call. Police. Emergency. I'm at 17 Sunview Close, off Kuda Avenue. There's a house. Dozens of kidnapped women, organs missing. It's a slaughterhouse. The officers didn't waste time. They arrived within 15 minutes, fully armed, and stormed the building. They found the women, the blood, the instruments, the stored organs in coolers in a hidden room. But they didn't find me. Not yet. One officer turned to Lucy. We want to catch him red-handed, he said. Can you help us? She didn't hesitate. I'll stay. I had no idea what waited for me back home. The sun was barely up when I pulled into the compound. I was tired, physically and mentally. 3 deliveries, 2 new clients to handle, and Lucy. She was the prize I was finally ready to collect. As I stepped out of the car, I whistled to myself, keys swinging from my fingers. The gate clicked behind me. The house was still, quiet. Just the way I liked it. I walked through the front door and called out, "Lucy, I'm home." She didn't answer immediately, but then I saw her, sitting on the couch like she belonged there, calm, composed, her legs crossed, her back straight. She looked too relaxed. "Hey," she said softly, smiling. "You're early." My instincts buzzed. Something was off. "Had a long night," I replied. "Didn't expect you to show up yesterday." "You caught me off guard," she chuckled. That was the point. Still smiling, to calm, I tried to regain control. "Hungry? Let me get you something." I stepped into the kitchen and opened the fridge, grabbed the usual juice, poured a glass, the same formula. The same dose, enough to knock her out. Cold within 2 sips, I walked back, handed it to her. But she didn't take it. She looked me dead in the eyes and shook her head. "No thanks." I froze, the mask cracked. Just for a second. "Oh, come on." "Babe," I said, laughing awkwardly. "You don't trust me now." "I do," she replied. "I just don't feel like drinking today." There was silence. Heavy. I felt my throat tighten. "Well," I said, setting the glass down. "You won't need it anyway." Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" I leaned forward, letting the monster out. No more games, no more sweet talk. Just raw, exposed hatred. You have no idea what you've walked into. All those smiles, all those promises. Fake. You're not special. You're not different. I've ended girls far prettier, far smarter, and now it's your turn. Still, her face didn't change. Instead, she said one word, "Now," and in that instant, they appeared, cops, from the hallway. From the kitchen, from behind the curtain. Near the back door, guns raised, commands shouted, "Down, hands on your head." Now I was frozen. I tried to run. Dumb move. One officer tackled me before I even made it to the door. My face slammed into the floor. My wrists twisted behind me, locked in steel. "Get him out," someone yelled. They dragged me past Lucy. She didn't move, didn't flinch. She just stood there, arms crossed, eyes like fire. "You're done," she whispered. "You're going to rot. Asterisk at the station." They locked me in a freezing cell with nothing but silence and the sound of my own breath. For hours, nobody came. No questions, no shouting. Just cold air and time. Time to think, time to stew, time to panic. But I wasn't broken yet. I'd escaped worse before. Or so I told myself. Then the door opened. 2 detectives walked in, one older, stern-faced, with salt and pepper hair. The other younger, quiet, calculating. They didn't introduce themselves. Didn't need to. The older one tossed a thick folder onto the table. "Joseph," he said, his voice flat. "We know everything." I laughed. "Everything. That's a big word." He didn't flinch. Instead, he slid a photo across the table. It was the pregnant woman, the one-eyed, ended. Her face frozen in that moment of terror. Then another photo. And another, girls I hadn't seen in months, all documented. Every scar, every horror I left behind. "How'd you get these?" I asked, my voice dry. "Lucy," the younger one replied. "She saw it all. And she saved them." "You got sloppy." My smile cracked. That name, Lucy, it stung now, burned like acid on skin. "You don't understand," I snapped. "She made me lose everything. She humiliated me. I gave her a chance. I tried to love her." The older detective leaned in, eyes full of disgust. "You tried to love her. You tied up women. You butchered them. You sold their bodies. And you call that love?" I looked away. Then they showed me the video. Lucy, in the boys' quarters. Freeing the women, the screams, the blood, the sheer inhumanity of it all, my hell, captured in HD. You see, the younger detective said, you're not the only one with cameras. That's when it hit me. There was no escape. I cracked. I confessed. Every woman, every lie, every order, every deal made in the dark corners of the black market. I gave them names, buyers, partners, transporters, even crooked doctors who helped me harvest. I held nothing back, not because I wanted redemption, but because I had nothing left to protect. The trial was swift. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, victims' families. And Lucy, front row, chin held high, surrounded by some of the very girls she saved. When they read the charges, the room went quiet. Then came the verdict, guilty, and the sentence, death by hanging. I didn't flinch. I just stared at Lucy, hoping maybe she'd look back, that she'd flinch, but she didn't, not once. Asterisk. Lucy didn't stay for the end of the sentencing. Once justice was delivered, she quietly stood, took one final look at me, then walked out of the courtroom into the daylight, leaving my twisted legacy behind like a bad dream that would never be hers again. But she didn't disappear. No. Lucy turned her pain into purpose. In the weeks that followed the trial, she began speaking out. At first, it was small, a school event here, a youth gathering there. But soon, word spread. People wanted to hear her story. Not the gruesome details, but the strength, the courage, the warning. She launched an organization, Voices Unbroken, a safe space for young women and girls to learn, to speak up, to be protected, workshops on online safety, training on recognizing red flags, counseling for trauma survivors. She partnered with police departments, schools, churches, built a network across cities. And she visited the rescued girls often. Many of them, scarred and traumatized, couldn't sleep alone, couldn't hear loud sounds without crying, couldn't trust a smile without fear. But Lucy was patient, gentle, steady. She sat with them through nightmares, held their hands through therapy, taught them how to breathe again, speak again, live again. One day, during a session, a girl named Ada, just 16, stood up and said through tears, "If it weren't for you, I'd be dead. You gave us our lives back." Lucy smiled, eyes glistening. "No," she said, "you saved yourselves. I just opened the door." Media tried to paint her as a hero. Headlines like "The woman who brought down a monster" and "Lucy, the light bringer." But she always declined the spotlight. "I don't need fame," she said in an interview once. "I need change," and change came. In prison, I was no longer the cheerful giver, no longer the man with the big smile. They knew me simply as Joseph, the murderer, the man who screamed into the dark at night, haunted and hollow. I wasn't part of the world anymore, and honestly, I didn't deserve to be. The nightmares never stopped. Crying women, eyes, so many eyes, just staring. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, gasping, sometimes screaming. The other inmates hated it, told me to shut up, but they didn't see what I saw. They didn't hear the things that echoed through my skull. No letters, no visitors. My family disowned me. Everyone did. Even myself. Memories became my real punishment. One day, a priest came to see me. "Do you want to talk about redemption?" he asked. I laughed. "Redemption? I'm already halfway to hell, Father." He just smiled softly. "Even in hell, some souls still reach for light," he said. I didn't answer. But the next week, I asked to see him again. We talked for hours about evil, about what I'd done, about what I'd become, and one day, he told me something I never forgot. "You were the devil wearing an angel's smile, but even the devil was once an angel, Joseph. Somewhere inside you, there's still a trace of a man, and maybe, just maybe, God wants to breathe life into that ash." but none of that changes my sentence. Death is still waiting for me. And every night, I sit, alone in the dark, thinking about Lucy, how I used to laugh at her, how I plotted her death, how I tried to extinguish her light, but her light survived. And now it lives on, in every girl she saved, in every word she speaks, in every change that came, because she chose to fight back. This is the end of my story, but it's not hers, because real light can't be killed, even when someone tries their hardest to snuff it out. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched you in any way, please share it. Leave a comment and subscribe for more. Stay safe, stay aware, and never stop standing up for what's right.